Hello everyone, and thank you for watching this new video in which I will correct the first problem of the midterm exam fall 2019 about the job order costing system. So this problem deals with Dobson Manufacturing Company production of antique residential moldings because the products are made only to order. The company use job order costing system. So these products are let's say unique or customized. Okay, so to orders. On July 1st, inventory count balances were as follows. So the beginning inventories of raw materials, work in process, and finished goods are given. So the first step is to record the beginning inventories of these accounts. Okay, so I will start by record in the debit side of raw materials. So I will debit raw materials with 12,000. The work in process inventory 75,000, and finished goods 46,000. Okay, so this is the first step. Okay, when you have the information about beginning inventories. The company applies overhead costs to jobs on the basis of machine hours. So here the machine hours are your cost driver. Okay, so I said that the cost driver is the best measure which explains the changes or the increase and decrease or the variability of the MOH, the manufacturing overhead. So here the machine hours will be used as a cost driver. Its predetermined overhead rate for the year is equal to 2.2. So here the POR, the predetermined overhead rate, is given. Okay, so 2.2. During July, the following transactions were recorded. So now we will start by recording these transactions in different T accounts. And in the first question of this problem, you see that you already have a list of T accounts to use, and you should ignore any accounts that are not listed. Okay, so in this problem we will use raw materials inventory, work in process inventory, finished goods inventory, cost of goods sold, manufacturing overhead, selling, general and administrative expenses or non-manufacturing expenses, and the sales revenue. Okay, so we will start by recording these transactions in these T accounts. So the first transaction is about the purchase of raw materials. Okay, so raw materials purchased on account for $180,000. So for the first transaction, I will debit raw materials as it's a purchase. Okay, so I will debit raw materials. I will increase my raw materials inventory by $180,000. This is the first transaction. In the midterm, okay, and in your answer, please indicate the letter or the number of the transaction. Okay, so second one, raw materials requisitioned for use in production. The requisition of raw materials is the consumption of raw materials. Okay, so we will decrease the raw materials inventory, so we will credit it. We will credit raw materials inventory by 123,000, and these raw materials are so materials costing 120,000 were direct materials, and the remaining materials were indirect. So when we require or we consume raw materials, you can maybe have a part of these materials as direct materials, and the remaining part as indirect materials. Okay, so I will credit raw materials for these this requisition. I will credit raw materials for the total amount of requisition. Okay, so 123,000. Okay, so this is transaction B. The counterpart of this requisition will be direct material. So here I can debit work in process inventory with the direct material part, 120,000. Okay, and the indirect part, so the remaining materials, 300. Okay, in the MOH. So I will debit MOH, okay, for 3,000. Okay, so this is for the second transaction. So we consumed, or we decreased the raw materials inventory by $123,000. We transferred these raw materials in work in process, so the direct raw materials in the work in process, and the indirect part in MOH. Next transaction costs for employees' services were incurred as follows. So we have the cost of direct labor, indirect labor, sales commission, and administrative salaries. Okay, so let's start with direct labor. We know that the direct labor is recorded in the debit side of work in process. Okay, so in the debit side of the work in process, I will record $90,000. The indirect labor part will be recorded in the MOH. Okay, so the indirect 7,200. Sales commission. Sales commission are non-manufacturing costs, so we will use the selling and general and administrative expenses, or non-manufacturing expenses. Okay, so we're still in transaction C. So sales commission 20,000, and finally the administrative salaries, also in non-manufacturing expenses or in the selling and administrative expenses, for $50,000. Okay, next one, utility costs incurred in the factory is equal to or are equal to $3,200. Okay, so utility costs incurred in the factory. So as we are in the factory, okay, or it's a factory cost, it will be a manufacturing cost, and utility costs are always indirect costs. So I will debit the MOH. So transaction D, I will debit MOH by 3,200. Next, Advertising costs incurred equal to $15,000. The advertising costs are non-manufacturing costs, so I will debit the non-manufacturing expenses or the selling and administrative expenses. Okay, for the advertising costs, 15,000. Next, depreciation recorded on equipment. So this depreciation is recorded on equipment is equal to 25,000. 20,000 of this amount was on equipment used in factory operation. The remaining 500 was on equipment used in selling and administrative activities. So we will record the $20,000 depreciation on factory equipment in the manufacturing overhead, because this is an indirect manufacturing cost. So transaction F, I think transaction yeah, for the so transaction F, MOH, depreciation on factory equipment for $20,000, and the $5 for the depreciation of equipment used in selling and administrative activities. It will be non-manufacturing expenses, so $5,000. Okay, next, manufacturing overhead cost was applied to jobs. The company recorded 15,000 machine hours during July, and we know that every machine hour will require $2.2, okay, of manufacturing overhead. So the applied MOH is always recorded in the credit side of MOH. So transaction J, applied MOH. So the applied MOH will be, so here the POR is equal to $2.2, and applied MOH is equal to 15,000 machine hours. Okay, so machine hours times 2.2, so the POR. Okay, so here we have the applied MOH. So it is equal to $33,000, and I will credit the MOH with this amount, $33,000. So this is the applied MOH. Okay, so this is the applied MOH. The counterpart of this applied MOH will be in the WIP account. Okay, so I credit the WIP account, the MOH, and I will debit the WIP account with 33,000. So here we have the applied MOH. Okay, transaction. Okay, so for the next transaction, sales to customers during July totaled 398,000. These jobs had cost 288,000. to manufacture according to the job cost sheets. So this is the cost of jobs sold, okay, and this is the total selling revenue of the period, okay. So in our T accounts, I debit cost of goods sold for the cost of jobs sold. I debit cost of goods, I credit the finished goods, and the counterpart is also the selling revenue, in the selling revenue. And as I said, the difference between selling revenue and cost of goods sold will be your gross margin or the profit, okay. So last transaction on July 31, the total manufacturing cost of jobs completed but not yet sold is equal to 68,000. So this information is about the total manufacturing cost of jobs completed but not yet sold. The jobs completed but not yet sold are still in finished goods. So this information is about the ending inventory of finished goods. So the ending inventory of finished goods equal to 68,000. So the cost of jobs completed will be equal to 68,000 plus 288,000 minus 46,000. Why? Because the ending inventory of finished goods is equal to beginning inventory plus cost of jobs completed minus cost of goods sold or jobs sold. Okay, so the ending inventory of the finished goods is equal to beginning inventory plus cost of jobs completed minus cost of jobs sold. So cost of jobs completed is equal to $310,000. Okay, so this amount will be recorded in the credit side of work in process. So $310,000 and in the finished goods. Before starting next question, we need to calculate the ending inventories of all our T accounts. So don't forget to do it. It's the sum of debit minus the sum of credit. So 69 for the raw materials. For the work in process inventory, it will be $8,000, and for the Finished goods, it's okay, 68. So the second question of this problem is about computing the cost of jobs complete and the final balance of the inventory accounts. So we already did it, okay, so we already calculated the cost of jobs completed. Third question, is manufacturing overhead underapplied or overapplied? So now we need to calculate the actual MOH. Actual MOH is the sum of debit side of MOH. The sum of debit side of MOH, and we'll compare the actual MOH and the applied MOH. So you see that the actual MOH is greater than the applied MOH. So this is an underapplied MOH, okay, situation, and the difference is 400. So we need to adjust the MOH account by 400. Okay, so this is the adjustment of MOH. So as I credit MOH, I will debit the cost of goods sold with 400. So I adjust my MOH and my cost of goods sold. Okay, so here as my MOH is underapplied, okay, my cost of goods sold will be also underestimated. Okay, this is why we need to increase the cost of goods sold by 400. Now we can calculate the ending inventory of this account. So 288,400, and for the MOH it will be 0. So thank you very much for your attention.